Okay guys, welcome back to Exploring Temecula. On today's video, we're going to talk about a few things or a few instances that I believe you should not move to Temecula. Of course, this channel talks about Temecula a lot and how much I love it, and all the positives that this city and the surrounding area have for its residents. But there's definitely a few situations where I would shy away from Temecula, and I wanted to just share those with you today and be honest and upfront for anybody thinking of making the move. We also have a ton of information on specific communities on our website called exploringtemecula.com. I highly suggest that if you're in the beginning stages of wanting to move to this area, check out the website, start reading about all the different communities in Temecula and Murrieta, and you might find one that fits your needs better than others. We talk a lot about tax rates, house payments, Melrose, special assessments, the amenities in each of these communities around Temecula, the school system. So really everything that's going to be important to you moving forward in purchasing or moving to Temecula, we're going to give you a ton of information for. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first reason you should not move to Temecula is basically where your employment is. And I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, but you do not want to live in your car. And I promise you, if your employment or employer is far from Temecula, depending on where you're going, you could be spending anywhere from 2 to 3 hours in your car every day. My opinion, yes, Southern California is a great place to live in a lot of areas, but the one big downside is for people that have to drive a lot. I just don't think that it's a good quality of life if you're in your car for 20 hours a week, plus getting to work, plus, you know, it doesn't work for most people, and you're going to find out really quick how your quality of life suffers living in your car for that length of time. Okay, so next up, the weather, and there's really two parts to this that I wanted to get into, but bottom line, for 4 to 5 months of the year, you're going to have temperatures from low 90s all the way up to 110 degrees on some days. I understand that if you come from the East Coast, you do have humidity in the summertime. We do not necessarily have humidity, it's just straight heat. So if that is something that you can't handle or you do not like, Temecula is definitely not the place for you to move. Now, the second part to that is electricity costs have gone through the roof, and especially in the last year. If you do not have solar, you're going to have high electric bills. It's almost scary, some of these people talking on Facebook groups, your electric bill being anywhere from $500 to $800 a month for those 3 to 5 months that it's really warm here. Now, having said that, it does offset a little bit because for 6 months of the year, you really don't need any heat, nor do you need AC. So those bills will drop, let's call it from $600 a month down to $100, $150 a month. So it really does even out, but you are going to have a solid few months where your bills are going to be massive. Okay guys, the next thing that I would really caution people about before moving to Temecula, if you live in a small town throughout the United States and you want to move to Temecula, be aware that it's going to be a culture shock. I moved from a town of maybe 10,000 people in Canada to here. It was actually Huntington Beach for the first 3 years. And when I first stepped foot in Huntington Beach, I just couldn't believe it. There's people everywhere, there's cars everywhere. Of course, everything is at your fingertips. In regards to within 20 miles, you have everything, restaurants, shopping, grocery stores. But with that, if you can't handle, going into the grocery store and having a line of 10 people, going to Costco and not being able to find a parking spot because it's so busy at times, those are the things that you have to deal with, along with many others, with just the sheer population of Southern California. Having said that, Temecula and Murrieta are not as bad as many other areas throughout Southern California. That's why I push this area so much. You know, a lot of people disagree with me that the traffic isn't bad, or yes, it is. But when you compare it to Los Angeles, when you compare it to San Diego, when you compare it to anywhere along the beach, it's really nothing, in way of crowds and traffic to those areas. So it's a tough call for me to sit here and say, Temecula is still going to be fine for you. Just forewarn, I want to be up front. Even though there's 100,000 people and you compare that to other areas, it's not as bad. It's still going to be a shock to many people. Okay, and the final thing, be very careful moving to Temecula if you don't have a good job, good employment that's going to pay your bills, expenses, fun. It's not a cheap place to live. And I've done a couple videos, if you want to check through my channel, of the cost of living in Temecula. And it really breaks down your bills every month. The things that are going to be a lot more than most parts of the country are gas, utilities, and rent, or your mortgage payment. Homes are worth more. So those are the three things that I would say are going to take up the bulk of your budget. And I just call it, if you are a couple, you're probably going to need $7,000 to $8,000 to have a decent quality of life. If you have kids, 2 or 3 kids, you're going to want, that $10,000, $11,000 a month to be able to live, a semi, good life, I guess. So be very careful before moving here. Make sure you have employment nailed down. Make sure that you look at costs of rentals. Make sure that if you're buying a home, that you understand what your payment's going to be per month, what you're going to have to put down. And then once you get in the home, where are you driving every day? Gas right now is $6.50 a gallon. That could be hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, electricity costs are going to be sky high for 4 or 5 months. Not trying to scare people, it's not necessarily worse off here in way of, living expenses than many other places. It's just those 2 or 3 things that really up what you need to bring home every month to have a good quality of life. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully those 3 or 4 things gave you an idea of whether or not Temecula might be a fit for you. Reach out if you have any further questions. I'd be glad to help. I'd be glad to get on a phone call with you, and you can ask me anything that you want, and I will be upfront and honest with you in regards to whether or not this area is the good fit that you might think it is. Until next time, from Exploring Temecula, thank you.